it's one of the greatest things that I ever got. But I lost my husband during that year, so hard. But I'm moving on, and life is good. And with that, yin yang, very international citation with distinction of platinum, which is the highest that we could get.
See, that was totally unscripted. Didn't she do a good job? So we talked about the oratory, and Les Loggins wants to come up once he puts that fork down and give us an update on that. Les.
You know, our club leadership and our oratory committee believes that this program is so important that even though we're going through this unusual time, we need to see if we can go ahead and continue with this project. And so we decided to do that. However, we're wondering, how do we do it? And so we really don't know exactly how this thing is going to look like. I don't know if we're going to have to be doing speeches by Zoom, if we do it by limited attendance at different projects, or finals, or also we're trying to work all these details out right now. But nevertheless, we proceed with it. So we're going to be contacting the students in 5 high schools in the First Coast area, and we're going to proceed as we normally do. Right now, what we're trying to do, because we don't know the situation with the virus, and then the final event right now is scheduled for March 4th. So in that sense, we're going and proceeding in that area. Just so you know, we do have a speech topic for this year, and I'd like to let you know what that is. Topic is in consideration of Rotary's international theme, Rotary Opens Opportunities. Select a past or present global crisis and describe the positive opportunities that arose from that crisis. Support your argument with historical data and expert opinions. So we think that would be a very interesting topic for this year. Now there are 2 areas that we're trying to work on that's a little different on the committee, and that is, one, we've decided to establish a website for the oratory project. And so we're very close to having that designed. We've got the programmer will be working on that the next couple of weeks, and we hope to have it up in about 3 weeks. But the site is informational. I mean, it's kind of a marketing site, but it's really more for information. And what we'll have there is we've got 3 areas that you can go to for information. We'll have what we call a box for the oratory participants, so they can go there. They can get all the information they need to apply for the position, you know, or apply for the contest, and they can get all of the documents that they need right there on the site. Then the second box is sponsorship information, and it gives you all the information you need to know if you'd like to sponsor this project. And then third, we've got the history of the project. We've got pictures and list of all the past winners, their schools, the committee, all the past judges we've had. It'll be kind of interesting to go through that and see how we've really progressed over the since 2015 is when we started. And also we have an update on the monies that we've donated, and we're over $80,000 in donations for scholarships so far. So I think that's going to be an exciting thing for us to have. It's a place where we can go to get information. It will be linked to our regular website, so it'll be very useful. With that, we really need to concentrate on our sponsorship. And you know, a few years ago we had one main sponsor. They were the title sponsor, and that really helped us get things going and pay for things. We really, really need to find a title sponsor. If you know there are any who might be interested in taking a major role, please let me know or let the committee know. We've got information to show them about how effective this is, what a great marketing tool this is, and we'll be glad to talk to them. So if you have any suggestions, please let us know, because that's a very critical area, especially this year. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Les. I also just want to state the obvious. It's nice that you have this oratory competition in play, and we can move forward with it. So, on the board calls you, your answer is what they might ask you, so I want you to keep that in mind. Okay, I want to just mention a little something about our service project rally. Surprise. All right, we're making everybody come on up here.
Thank you for Patty gives heads up, so I'm okay with that. So we've been talking about this for a while now. We are getting together. I'd like to have a service project rally. It will be November 30th, San Jose Community. And what the plan is to break out into groups. And one of the committee members will be with each table and give your ideas so that it's not a single committee deciding what we're going to do for service projects. We really want to have it interactive this year. With service projects, and then we'll go ahead and present that to the rest of the group. And to get your brain juices working, of course, there'll be a happy hour, so it works very, very well. But it shouldn't take too much time. It starts at what time, Jessica?
I think that we were, hey Patty, was that at 5:30 or 6? Yeah, we're gonna say 5:30.
5:30, great. And so hopefully everybody will come. It'll be a really good time. If you have to zoom in, it'll be fine. We'll work out an option for that. And I'm also really excited to say that with our newer member, Jay Frost, is going to be chairing this Service Projects Committee. He's going to do that today. So it's a great committee working on it. So thank you very much.
Yep, thank you. And we're going to be voting on those projects that night. So we'll know that night how we're moving forward. This isn't going to drag on. We have a little catching up to do. So I want everyone to please try and attend. I think it'll be a fun evening, especially if you're there. And President-elect Richard, do you want to talk to us about another little thing we've got coming on here?
Thank you. There is a sheet on your table, one per table, and what it is telling you is that our Rotary Club has been invited to participate in a Thanksgiving food drive with UCOM. I talked to the UCOM people yesterday and was really excited about what I found out. In brief, the items that we need are on that sheet of paper, and we have 2 extra meetings on November 3rd and November 10th to collect items for the food drive so that people that wouldn't have a Thanksgiving can have one. Or you can contribute a $15, $25, or $35 grocery gift card. And that's in quotes because it's for groceries and you can buy them at Winn-Dixie. If we buy them at other places, they will not be grocery gift cards. They will be gift cards for other things that our favorite wonderful families can buy on their own. Yeah, I guess that translated, didn't it? And so go to Winn-Dixie and buy your gift cards. Third thing, I don't want to make a speech, but in my past life, before I moved to Jacksonville, I was an inner city pastor, and we ended up giving a lot of food to a lot of people and watched nothing change in their lives. UCOM knows better than that, and they counsel people as they give them food and establish a relationship with them that helps them grow in responsibility and life skills. And I'm really happy to hear that. Even happier to hear that we have been invited to work with them on the days that the food is being distributed, which would be the 17th, 18th, and 19th of November, working through a scripted interview with clients and helping them out to their cars with food bags. If you would like to do that, my email and my phone number are on that sheet of paper on the table. Please contact something together with UConn. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. UConn is United Community Outreach Ministries, and it's not as simple as, oh, you're going to like talk to Richard. We're going to be after you to sign up to do this. So, you know, look forward to seeing that on your tables and in your emails. And hey, Casey, you want to come talk to us about the bell ringing? There you are.
Thank you, Tom. Let me start on a personal note. After this past year with sickness and the COVID and everything else that we've all been going through, it's really good to see everybody's face again and be here visiting one another. As is our tradition, we'll be ringing the bell again this year at the Publix on University and Old St. Augustine Road. We'll start this 2-hour shifts at 10 in the morning and run until 8 in the evening. 2 people per shift, we can do it. And there's sign-up sheets on the table. So if you're interested, sign up. It's December 4th, Friday. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. So we have badges, right? They've got their badge. You're going to take them home and come back with them. You're not going to put them back in the box, okay? Everybody got them? Do I need to say it again? No. Because if you lose your badge, right? You lose your badge, it's going to cost you $50. Everybody hear that? Replacement badges are $50. Yes. So it's like serious business. Yeah, wow, that's right. So don't lose your badge. I mean, you know, come on, we're all grown-ups. Don't lose your badge. Take them home, bring them back, leave them in your car. We're not in the badge business. I don't want to have to do one single $50 badge. So I'm hoping that that will be incentive enough. So wear them out, take them with you, put them in your car, show up with them next time, right? Right. Thank you for that. So I think that that's all the announcements we've got, because we're going to run out of time. And hey, Bob, Massey, come on up. Let's introduce our visitors and guests.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will first of all echo Casey Martin's sentiment. It is so wonderful to be here in person, and it's even more wonderful that we have visiting Rotarians and guests today, and it's my privilege to introduce them. Let's start with the visiting Rotarians. Name already been mentioned, President Jerry Kelly. Please stand, Jerry, for us. We can recognize you. Welcome. Jerry is President of Jacksonville Club, and he has an executive secretary with him who's recognized before. Please stand, Sherry Omer. And then we have Rotarians with guests. I believe Parker Shields, although I haven't seen him in the room. Parker is Zooming. And I believe he has guest John Ball, if I'm correct, John Ball. So welcome Parker and his guest John. Robert Harris has a couple of guests.
I'm playing with my mom for 30 years out the road. I'm sort of excited about the gigs that we have in our office. He goes for the best work. Grew up on the south side, moved to Deerwood, where a lot of people at Deerwood might keep the gun south, get out, keep some sheep for that. Just more importantly, our law partner, who just joined us, Tim, also lives in Deerwood, does not keep those things aside. But the interesting part, he's got a wonderful, beautiful Cuban mom. So Tim is Spanish speaking. The interesting part, having gone to bowls, played football there at the University of Alabama. His weekends are spent raising cattle.
Welcome. Tim, and Jake Rush as a guest. Jake?
I brought my boy Victor. He's 6, and he hasn't had a normal school year yet since kindergarten was cut short in March. He's been at home from the kitchen table on his laptop. And now he's in 1st grade all spring term, but doing the school.
Welcome, Victor. Greg Anderson, would you please introduce your guest?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm everyone. She's my co-worker. She's an economics professional and development professional. She's director at Jax USA, Florida State graduate, written over the conference as part of the commission, and grew up there.
And I have a guest also. Are there any other guests in the room other than Michelle?
I have my student with me today, Scott Mitchell, but as we like to be introduced when the court started as Grandmaster Ruler of the Universe.
Welcome, Scott. And I'm pleased to have my friend and landlord, Gary Adler. Gary is running for U.S. House Representative, Congressional District 5. He grew up in Atlanta, moved to Jacksonville to go to Jacksonville University, has been a businessman since he graduated in our town for decades. He has worked with our past president, Tom, and it's a pleasure to have Gary. Please welcome Gary.
Good. All right, past President Gary Wilkinson. Would you like to introduce our speaker today?
Well, it is excuse me, a pleasure back, Rick Mullaney. I'm sure many of you were to for this just ways enormously. You probably know Rick. Rick is the student at JU. He's actually he's also a WJX and hosts of regular policy matters on WJC. The Institute has 4 degrees, has dual degree programs in law, business, and in marine science. That's got to be interesting. Rick is a double gator, as they say. Received his BA in political science from the University of Florida, 5A and was executive of the law review and a member of the moot court team at the University of Florida. That means he's really smart. Rick has had an extensive career in private and public service. As I'm sure many of you recall, he had distinguished careers as general counsel for the city. He was also mayoral chief of staff, and he's represented diverse public entities involved in a lot of public policy initiatives and provides a lot of advice and counsel to both public and private entities, and is truly recognized around this country as an expert on consolidated government. He is also presently, and I'm sure in the past, has been advisor to mayors Austin, Mullaney, and So again, I'm thrilled and pleased to welcome back Rick and look forward to hearing from him.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. It's great for friends here. And I've actually I've been to this Rotary more than any other in Jacksonville. And I always enjoy to see it. A lot of great people here. But we're a little short on time, a lot of ground to cover. So I kind of three things. One, I was going to talk a little bit about COVID-19 in higher education, just because it's affecting all of us so much. And then, of course, get to the big topic, which is, I know, on your mind, the election, 1 week from today. Very, very consequential, really high stakes. I think that'll be a very good conversation. And then the third, if we have time, and I'm not so sure we will, I'm glad to talk about the U.S. Supreme Court and the new justice who just took the bench today. Got sworn in last night, took the bench. On COVID-19, let me say this. If you look around, I look around the room, I venture to say everybody I see, their business, their life has been affected by COVID. Certainly, I see the judges, and I see what's happened to the administration of justice. I talk to Chief Judge Mark Mahan all the time. I look at law firms and the way you're functioning and your businesses. Picture higher ed. Our business model is to bring people together. We bring them into dorms, we bring them into classrooms, we bring them into stadiums, we bring them into fine arts. So every industry is affected, but certainly higher ed this fall semester has been unlike any other in the history of higher education. Very briefly, because I know we want to get to the election, or at least talk a little bit about COVID-19 in higher ed. I did go to the University of Florida. I did want to mention this to you. And the outbreak has been worse at some universities than others. And at the University of Florida, you may have seen that the University of Florida football team in particular had a big outbreak of COVID-19, and they say they got it on the trip with Texas A&M. A lot of people say that the Florida football players got this, and I saw the game, got this from the Texas A&M offense. I find that hard to believe because I didn't see any Gators touching the I didn't see any Gators contact any Texas A&M. Cost to, I know you've talked to you before, who truly is one of the great university presidents, not only in the state of Florida, but in the country. And I don't say that lightly, I mean that sincerely. Got us together in early March. We could sort of see it coming. We began to plan. And then on March 16th, we did what a lot of places did. We shut down. We pivoted to online courses. Students went home. And in fact, for the next few months, April, May, June, and July, I was one of those who worked from home, which, by the way, maybe it's a generational thing. That is not comfortable for me. I'm one of those people who actually feels more comfortable going to the office. It worked out pretty well, actually. But for the Institute, and I appreciate the judge's introduction on the Institute, I think I came to this Institute, to this Rotary back in 2012 when we were just starting out. You can imagine in January, we're starting year 10. And in the Institute, we have our academic program. We offer a master's degree in public policy, an MPP degree. We offer an executive MPP degree for those with more than 7 years of work experience, and 3 dual degree programs, an MPP JD, an MPP MBA, and an MPP Marine Science, so 5 graduate degree programs in public policy. Big impact this spring. Last week for our board, we had the governor as our guest. He was a keynote speaker, appearing virtually. And we mentioned that this was the first and only MPP program in the state of Florida. We were pleased to confer the first MPP degrees in the history of Florida in 2015. But now this fall, UCF is opening a program. The University of Miami is opening a program. And I said to the governor, I think it's a great thing for the state that this is happening. The university we use only now we're the oldest and the best, is the way I put it to the governor. But in the spring, it affected everything from recruiting, going to the University of Florida and Stetson, to changing the programs we had planned, to putting all of our classes online. It was a very dramatic change. Same thing for the summer, with all of our classes online. And then in August, staff returned to the university. I've been back since August. And then students returned on August 17th. I go through a little bit of that history to say this kind of remarkable. JU under President Koss' leadership really gathered a team together to take this very seriously, to develop a very significant plan, to execute that plan with some discipline. Today we have 4 cases at JU, 1 faculty member and 3 students. That's what we have today. And we have been pretty serious about how we've gone about it. But despite COVID-19, in August, we had the largest entering class in JU in decades. And the MPP program, we had our largest MPP program in the history of our program. More students in our MPP program. A lot to talk out there, I'll return sometime to talk about some of the pieces of that, what it looks like, because we're very pleased with it. We have an NPP Minority Fellowship Program in which we've grown Black student population in our graduate program. We have some public service scholarships, doing lots of things with the academic program. Also, despite COVID-19, we've been a pretty high demand for the Institute on campus and off in terms of who we are and what we do. We believe there's a market, a desire for institution and is not MSNBC, objective and nonpartisan. We're very pleased. CISA last month to talk about the upcoming elections. We've seen it some of the other commentary. So we're looking forward to that. That's rushing through the Institute. Pleased right here in our own backyard and here next year. We hope it's a constructive part of who we are for the future, Jack. But now everybody wants to talk about. I know we're a little short on time, but I want to talk about every election. This is the most important election in history. I can't recall any election where they didn't say that. They always do. Have you ever? But vote for me anyway. I mean, every election is worth the crossroads. This is the time. This is the moment. This is what matters. This is the most important one ever. I will say this, however, this is a very significant election, and it is very, very consequential. So what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about the presidential election, talk a little bit about the Senate, which, by the way, there's a technical term for this in public policy. It's a big deal. What's going on in the U.S. Senate is a big deal, and then what to expect on election night 1 week. On presidential politics, and I'm sure there's some people here, some are supporting Vice President Biden, some the president. I'm going to try as best I can to be as objective as I can, and I'm sure to offend everybody in the group. When you look at if you look back last January after impeachment, pre-COVID-19, the president very much would appear to have been on his way to a second term. The biggest game changer has been COVID-19, in my opinion. It changed everything. And in the spring, when Jacksonville University was pivoting to online, the nation was also beginning, and the city was beginning a lockdown. You saw through the spring and the summer the impact of COVID-19, the number one issue on people's minds. Would you agree? Yes. What people were talking about, and the economy, affecting us in all kinds of ways that we foresaw and all kinds of ways that we didn't. It seemed like there were always layers of consequence to COVID-19 that we hadn't considered. During the summer, Joe Biden developed a pretty significant lead, and by July, by the time he had picked Kamala Harris as his running mate, he appeared to have a pretty significant lead. And then at the time of the conventions, particularly at the end of the Republican convention, you could see that it was narrowing. In the Republican convention in August, in my opinion, the Republicans did a good job with another number of women who came to speak and a number of Black speakers. The women who spoke, I thought, did a very good job in terms of talking about the president's achievements and his character. The Black speakers did a good job of talking about his achievements and his character. And you may think that those speakers were designed to grow votes in those groups, and you'd be right. The president does need to do better with women in terms of the vote, and does need to do better with the Black vote. But quite frankly, a lot of that convention was also directed at trying to make moderate Republicans and independents feel okay about voting for a president with whose behavior they may not agree with. There are a number of moderate Republicans who do not like the president's behavior, but do like his policy. I'd be willing to bet you'd probably do it secretly here. You don't want to admit it out loud because there is a real hidden Trump vote. I'd be willing to admit around here that if some people in the room are voting for Donald Trump, some people would be reluctant to say it out loud. It's just sort of the way it is around the country. But coming out of the Republican convention, they had done a pretty good job, had built up pretty good momentum. The president, Joe Biden, was still in the lead at the time of the first presidential debate in late September. How many people saw the first presidential debate? I believe that debate was a significant setback for the president. Significant setback. It truly was, in ways that maybe hadn't been anticipated. If he had performed in the first debate the way he did the second debate, this might have been very different. But the first debate was a setback. And not in the traditional sense of he gave some answers that were factually incorrect for all of you since the majority watched it. And it wasn't that Joe Biden had a particularly good night. It was that the debate itself is sort of unlike anything we've ever seen. Would you agree?
Yes.
In terms of the unfortunate, the interruptions, the insults, the style. I did some commentary on it the next day. It was disappointing for the country. It was a disappointing debate. This isn't a Republican or Democratic comment, but I think most people believed, I certainly did, that we're better than what we witnessed that night. We're better than that. And we deserved a better conversation. But the president paid a price for it. He paid a price for it at the polls. At the very time when it was narrowing, where he had some momentum, it turned out to be a pretty big setback. In the debates that followed, Vice President Pence did, I thought, did a good job with Kamala Harris, a good debate, but really not as consequential. The top of the VP ticket doesn't matter nearly as much. And in the last presidential debate, the president, I thought, performed much better. Joe Biden performed well that night. But in the end, as I said, some recent commentary, there was a sigh of relief in the Trump campaign because he had performed better. There was also a sigh of relief in the Biden campaign because although some talk about maybe a little bit about energy and a few other issues, he had made a major mistake that would be a game changer. And when you're in the lead, what you want to do is get in and get out. By the way, pretty significant strategic error, in my opinion, for the president not to debate the second debate, even if it was virtual. Big mistake. When you're behind, he needed that debate, in my opinion, more than the vice president did when you're behind. So here we sit today. It's 7 days away. We've looked at the data. And if you're looking at this presidential race, of course, you're seeing the polling, you're seeing that the president, or that the vice president, Biden, is up by maybe double digits in the popular vote. You can fully expect that Joe Biden is going to win the popular vote. A lot of that is a result of big margins in California, big margins in New York. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, large part because of those. But as you know, it's not about the popular vote, it's about the Electoral College. So that's really not as significant. It can be an indicator of some things, but fully expect that Joe Biden will win the popular vote. Then you go to the Electoral College. 50 states, 40 of them, we are know what they're going to do. It's already baked in. And the electoral map has a tilt that's on the design. There are 6 states, 6 critical states that many believe will determine the election. Before I mention those 6, let me talk about the other 4 that the president needs to sort of hold serve on, so to speak, use a tennis analogy. The other 4 that are kind of in play that you might not expect are Ohio, Iowa, Georgia, and stunningly Texas. In each of those, the president needs to carry all 4 of those to be in the game. To be in the game, he needs to carry those 4. And then you get down to the big 6. This is the conversation. The big 6 includes 3 in the South. It's Florida, North Carolina, and Arizona. And then, of course, something that was supposed to be the blue wall 4 years ago, but was not a blue wall, and that is Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Those are the 6. In fact, last month, C-SPAN called the Institute and said, we're going to lay aside a day to talk about each one of these 6. And we're asking, would the Institute come on C-SPAN, which we did for an hour. They interviewed us for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then we took questions from all around the country talking about the election in Florida and what to expect here. Those are the 6. What are the 3 most important? Let me outline them for you. The 3 most important states, keep your eye out for this next week, are Florida, Florida, and Florida. That's where the election is fought. This is the most important state in the nation. This is the one to keep an eye on. And by the way, note this, if you remember nothing else, remember this for a week from now. Florida, North Carolina, and Arizona are already counting ballots. You're likely to get those results on election night. As a result of that, depending on how they go, you may know who the winner is on election night. It may not be final, you may not hear a concession speech, but you're hearing a lot about we won't know for many weeks. That's not necessarily true. You could possibly hear on election night. But let me go back to Florida. The history here is amazing. In 2016, Donald Trump won by 1.1%, 113,000 votes. That was an outlier in the urban areas because Hillary Clinton swept by big margins in Miami, Orlando, Tampa, Tallahassee, virtually every big urban area dominated by Hillary Clinton, except for Jacksonville, where Donald Trump won by 6,000 votes. In Duval County. I think there's a sense here that Duval County is red. Let me talk about that for a second. That may be true in local elections. That is not true for national elections. 2 years ago, 2018, in Duval County, Ron DeSantis, in the contest, of course, against Andrew Gillum. Andrew Gillum took Duval County. Rick Scott with Bill Nelson. Bill Nelson won Duval County. Donald Trump, 4 years ago, won by 6,000 votes. Do not be surprised to see Joe Biden take Duval County. There's this sense the state is so diverse geographically, and we talk about that for a second. The northern part, you think of as being more when you're sort of the hole in the donut. I-4 corridor, really a battleground area from Orlando to Tampa. Shocking win in Pinellas County last time for Donald Trump. If he wins Pinellas County, look out this time. But you've also seen some immigration patterns there with more Puerto Rican immigrants moving into the Central Florida area. That leans Democratic, although the heavy Hispanic vote in South Florida, which is Cuban American, is heavy Donald Trump this time. We'll talk about that. And then in South Florida, there's a tendency to think it's all liberal. It's not exactly right. Southeast is, Southwest isn't. On the southeast side, Miami and Broward, you're looking at a more Democratic vote. On the southwest side, you're looking at a more conservative vote. What does all that mean in terms of numbers? Last time, just over 9.5 million ballots cast. Donald Trump wins by 100,000. This time, I wouldn't be surprised to see 11 to 12 million votes. In 2000, speaking about close elections, talk about the history. Donald Trump won by 1.2% last time. Barack Obama won in 2012 by less than 1%. And 20 years ago, about this time, you may remember this, I happened to have been on the canvassing board for the and legal counsel to the board, 537 votes out of over 6 million cast in 2000. The 36-day recount of the 2000 presidential election. We could have a whole Rotary session on just what that election is about. But the real point of that is that in Florida, the Republican won in 2016, the Democrat won in 2012 and 2008, the Republican won in 2004 and 2000, the Democrat, Bill Clinton, won in 1996. This is a purple state. This state can go either. Right now, this morning, according to the real averages, 0.2%. That tells me it's going to Trump win. Could happen. Having said that, I'll give you some assessments on it. But in Florida, very competitive. On election night, 1 week results before midnight. If Florida, Joe Biden will be. If Donald wins Florida, he's still in the game. But the scenario is Donald Trump wins Florida, but loses the election. It's just because of the electoral map. You get the big 55 out of California going for Joe Biden. You've got 29 in New York going for Joe Biden. Because of the map, there's a narrow pathway for the Republicans. So a week from tonight, when you're looking at them coming in, Florida will be front and center, and Florida will be counting those ballots a little bit earlier. By the way, in Pennsylvania, they can't start counting until the day of the election. That is also true in Wisconsin. Michigan can start processing the day before, but can't count it the day before. As a result of that, especially with the huge mail-in that we're seeing, you can see that it can be days before you get those final results. That's why I come back to this a week from now. Look for the results in Florida, Arizona, and North Carolina. Basically, Donald Trump needs to carry them on. Yes, sir.
Rick, I just got my Atlantic Monthly that just came out, and it has a fascinating analysis that is not biased one way or the other, but it
Atlantic
is,
Monthly?
The Atlantic Monthly. Oh, it's a really good one. It says it's a hair trigger, could go on like
the election. Well, I was going to go to that. I don't really see it that way, but I'll just say this up front. I'm wrong a lot. I'm wrong. Here's one from 2015 that I regret already. I come on Channel 4 this is the first time I've now been doing some commentary with them for a bit. And they just started, Donald Trump had just entered the race, and the first debate was coming up. So they have this on film, unfortunately. And so they said, so Donald Trump, he's a billionaire. What about the impact on the race? To which I said decently, well, he's a billionaire. Never underestimate their impact. You've got to follow it. But he's not going to be the Republican nominee. And then I threw in for good measure, and he's certainly not going to be president of the United States. So if it were me, I wouldn't listen to me. I do think there are some big differences this time versus last time. If you do look at the other battleground states, I believe the blue wall this year, particularly Wisconsin and Michigan, is a blue wall. Pennsylvania is potentially within reach. The other two are not. Here's the challenge. If you look at the data this time, The margins are a little bit bigger. Joe Biden is a better candidate than Hillary Clinton, in my opinion. And James Comey is not opening up an investigation 10 days before the election to look into the emails. And at this time, 4 years ago, I think those were major factors. Yes.
Can we get on Corinne Brown again? But that actually is not my question.
Because that's an old story. I could hear that from 2000.
You know, Carl Rove had an editorial in the Wall Street Journal about a week ago.
Yep.
And I respect his point of view a lot. He said that polling is dead. He said it just doesn't work anymore with the death of landlines. Polling is, and he said both the races use modeling now. And he said some of the models in the same state will show one guy's going to win, and then you run a different model and it shows a different guy's going to win. So what do you think about the validity of?
Well, let me give you a piece that corroborates that, and then something that's a little bit at odds with that. 2 years ago, in 2018, the day before the governor's race with Ron DeSantis and Andrew Gillum, and the day before with Rick Scott and with Bill Nelson, we were doing a special previewing the race, and I can tell you that the polling showed Bill Nelson winning and Andrew Gillum winning outside the margin of error. Outside the margin of error. Florida is a very difficult state to poll, and it's diverse and it's complex. And by the way, I didn't go to the demographics. Favoring Trump is the Hispanic vote, by the way, this time, especially Cuban American, doing very, very well. Unfortunately for him, he's not as dominant. You wonder, by the way, how did Hillary Clinton take all those big suburbs and lose? The answer is we have 67 counties, not 6. And in those suburban counties and those rural counties, Trump was dominant in those counties, particularly, but this time, Joe Biden making some inroads with seniors, military, suburban women. And so clearly I can point to some examples where it's been. But if you look at data that I'm seeing from a live 38, but I look at all of them, I would say that this is an uphill fight for the president. I probably won't do my off the cuff, so with certainty stuff, but I think it's an uphill battle for the president. It comes winning a week from now. And if he does lose, I think people will look back historically at the first debate as having been, quite frankly, one of the turning points here when things were narrowing. But it's going to be a tough battle for him. Let me get this on the Senate because it's so critically important. I've got to talk about the Senate for just a second. If you're looking at the potential structural changes in our government, I'm talking about the Supreme Court, we're talking about adding states. If you're looking about potential policy changes, the adoption of a public option, immigration with a pathway to citizenship for 12 million undocumented immigrants, and spending. If you're looking at those 5 elements or those aspects, the 2 structural pieces, the 3 policy pieces, come down to the U.S. 5 races, 23 incumbent, 33 in Georgia. Lead 50 sequential Senate race in history. Pent up frustration, some of it justifiable, some of it not regardless of the character party. Chuck Schumer believes that they have not been treated fairly, and Judge Barrett and a bunch of things, and they've made it very clear that if the majority, they're going to abolish the filibuster. Abolishing the filibuster is the key to increasing the size of the court, getting the public option, changing the immigration, adding DC and Puerto Rico. You can't abolish the filibuster, those things aren't going to happen. It's 53-47, and the Republicans are likely, because it does not have COVID. And so you're going to be up 54-46, but in the end, Republicans most likely going to lose in Colorado, got a real tough time in Maine, got a real tough time in Arizona. Those 3 look like they're close to gone, although they'll be fighting hard. You're now down to 1 or 2. Gets into a little bit of weeks, but because of West Virginia with 4, but they may need 6 because those 2 tend to be pretty conservative. If you see 4 seats change hands, if it becomes 50-50, if the Democrats gain control of the Senate, it will pave the way for what many want to do, which is abolish the filibuster as the piece that allows you to consider, for example, changing the size of the court, which is court packing, or adding DC and Puerto Rico, or some of the other policy initiatives. So keep your eye on those Senate races. We can go down the list of those that are in play. You'll be watching for the president a week from now, but what I really suggest you do too is watch the United States Senate. Watch the United States Senate, because if, as many people believe, it is a blue wave, and you get Democratic control of the House, Senate, and White House. Some people are certainly very excited about that. But it could also mean, if you change the rules, such as the filibuster, you can see a very dramatic change in which way it goes in terms of both structure and policy. So I know it's pretty quick, but a week from tonight, if you're watching the election, keep an eye out early for the 3 states I mentioned. Most likely, you may know who wins, but it'll be weeks before we have the final vote. Thank you all very much.
What channel are you on?
I'll be on channel, starting at 7 o'clock, I will be with Channel 4 with Tom Wills, Mary Baron, Kent Justice. We'll be doing, last time I was on from 7 p.m. to 3 in the morning. This time, we're redoing the set right now, but I'll be on Channel 4 starting on election.
Thank you, Rick. That was very well done. Thank you. We would like to make a contribution in your honor to the Rotary Foundation.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All righty, got a couple of reminders before we split here. I want to let you know that the remainder of our meetings for this calendar year will be in person. Yeah. That's through December 15th. I mean, unless something happens, but all things being equal, so that's one thing. We need, and just another reminder for everyone to RSVP. It's working great so far. We want you to keep up the good work. And all the meetings will be posted on the DAC-DD calendar, and where you can also RSVP for any of our events coming up. And December 8th, our annual holiday luncheon will be graciously hosted by past President Robert Harris at his home in Epping. And as we end our meeting, please join me in the Rotary motto.
Serve ourselves.